For many years, the natural mineral known as asbestos was used in a wide range of building materials in the construction of commercial and public buildings, schools, and residential homes. Although asbestos was banned in Australia in December 2003, asbestos products still exist in many of these structures. This legacy means exposure to asbestos is a real and ongoing risk in the building and construction industries, particularly for tradespeople and do-it-yourself home renovators. The aim of this video is to promote asbestos awareness and help you to protect yourself and others from exposure.
It's a mineral, just like any other rock. We say there's blue, brown and white, and we ask ourselves the question, what is the most dangerous asbestos to me? There is a very simple answer. The one that I work with or the one that I work near.
It is important to be aware that asbestos can be found in many places, including roofing, internal walls and ceilings, external cladding, gables and eaves, laminated asbestos sheeting, ceiling insulation, infill panels, vinyl floor tiles, downpipes, gutters and venting flues, electrical meter backing boards, fencing, sewer and water pipes, telecommunication pits and ducts, and electric cable insulation.
In its fibrous state, it's friable, which means we can breathe it in easily. When we add cement and water and make it non-friable products, it's bonded together. When it's bonded, the cement makes it very hard like concrete. It doesn't release fibres unless we cut or drill or damage it. There's a big difference between friable and non-friable. Nobody is allowed to work with friable, only Class A licensed people, and that's for very real reasons. You can breathe in many more fibres in a short period of time because there's a lot more in the air.
WHS legislation requires air monitoring to be undertaken for all work involving friable asbestos removal. During demolition, renovation or DIY projects, asbestos can become friable, exposing people to the risk of inhaling the deadly microscopic fibres.
The tiny wee fibres have barbs on them, a bit like bee stings. Once we breathe them into our lungs, they hook in, they don't come out. It's the regular exposure, continuous breathing in dust, that's the problem. If I breathe in a little bit drilling a hole, it's on my clothes. I breathe it in as I move around. As I get into my car, I take it home. And we now have records of 16-year-old children dying from mesothelioma who have never worked, their fathers coming home with asbestos on them. There are a number of diseases that we can get. The worst disease is mesothelioma, asbestosis, cancer. Pleural plaques is one that's a secret. People don't think it's really important. It's non-cancerous, non-life-threatening. However, pleural plaques can move on to asbestosis, cancer or mesothelioma. If I had a magic wand and I waved it today and got rid of all the asbestos in Australia, we would still be getting people being diagnosed with mesothelioma 40 years from now. That's why if we say every day, am I working on, with or near asbestos, that's the most powerful tool that we can have. All employers have to be responsible to see that every person in their management chain, through to supervisors, team leaders, etc., are aware of the risks of asbestos and what they need to do.
I recently attended a course about asbestos. It really opened my eyes up. I had no idea how dangerous it was. I was shocked just to see how many different products contain asbestos. I think young blokes tend to jump in a bit too quick sometimes, and just taking a step back, doing the course, it's definitely a good thing.
Practical guidance is available in the following anti-work-safe codes of practice and guidelines. Guide to the Work Health and Safety National Uniform Legislation Act, how to manage and control asbestos in the workplace, how to safely remove asbestos. These resources are available from the NT WorkSafe website at www.worksafe.nt.gov.au. You risk exposing yourself, your workmates, and your family to asbestos fibres if asbestos is not properly managed. If you suspect your house contains asbestos, as a best practice, you should get licensed professionals to undertake your home renovations and to remove the asbestos from your property. They are professionals with the knowledge and experience to protect you and those around you from the dangers of asbestos.
I've been asked by families what contains asbestos.
The Australian Government Guide for Householders and the General Public can be found on the Australian Government Department of Health website.
The very first step of prevention is identification. Nobody can identify asbestos by eye. Many people who come to training think they're going to walk away at the end of the day knowing I'll be able to identify any asbestos product. It's not true. When they find asbestos, their training says to isolate the job and bring in a professional, somebody who spent years doing it to understand it. And if in doubt, we sample it to make sure.
Labels and warning signs must be used to identify any material that contains asbestos in the workplace. The Asbestos Register lists all identified or assumed asbestos in the workplace. Tradespeople should ask to see the Asbestos Register before quoting on or commencing work. Remember, there will not be an asbestos register in domestic premises. Therefore, you should ask homeowners if a report has been completed by a licensed assessor. Detailed risk assessments must be completed and all work is to be undertaken in accordance with a safe work method statement. You should always aim to minimise dust by wetting down your work area. On completion, place all contaminated material, including drop sheets, wet rags and disposable PPE in the waste disposal bag. Label and seal securely using the gooseneck and double bagging method.
Nobody should be cutting or drilling asbestos without not just awareness training, but how to work with asbestos training. We shouldn't use high-powered or pressured water blasting or air blasting. We should minimise any electric tools or power tools and only use battery-operated ones where we need them and minimise the dust. My favourite saying is, no dust, no danger.
The selection and use of PPE should be based on your risk assessment. However, at a minimum, your PPE kit should include disposable coveralls, footwear and shoe covers, single-use disposable gloves, a Class P2 respiratory mask, and protective eyewear. Respiration devices, their use and maintenance must comply with Australian and New Zealand standards. Comprehensive advice on respiration devices is also available in the NT WorkSafe Code of Practice, How to Safely Remove Asbestos. PPE must be removed in a designated decontamination area. Disposable PPE must be properly bagged for waste disposal. Non-disposable PPE and clothes must never be laundered at home. They must be properly bagged and taken to a facility equipped to launder contaminated clothing. Asbestos waste must be disposed of safely and legally to a facility approved by the Northern Territory Environment Protection Authority. The Australian Government has created the National Asbestos Exposure Register for members of the public to record their details if they are concerned that they have been exposed to asbestos-containing material.